That demo day was a moment of shock where people realized that the company that on the surface looked like what a lot of other companies that have previously failed looked very similar to, right? Actually was succeeding in a way. Yeah. And then people were very curious as to how that was happening.
You know how everyone says YC is only B2B SaaS? Well, today I'm talking with Dorothy, the founder of RealRoots, a probably overlooked startup from the recent batch that actually quietly posted a 9.4 million ARR traction at Demo Day. And that was probably one of the most hyped company after they pitched and people realized they missed out. So that's what we're gonna get into. You know, is AI consumer back? What's RealRoots? Let's dive in. Dorothy, I'm so happy to have you here.
Thank you so much for having me, Gabrielle. And by the way, not everyone missed out. You were one of our first investors that we talked to, so thank you so much for that vote of confidence. Yeah.
And then we invested, so it's out there. RealRoots is a Lobster capital portfolio company, and we're very excited, obviously. So let's dive in. Now everyone is wondering, like, oh, what?
Yeah.
9.4. So tell us who you are and tell us about RealRoots to get started.
Yeah, so my name is Dorothy Li, and I'm a Stanford business grad and a startup builder by trade. I typically work on mission-driven products. So my last two companies were in education technology. Those were that was the problem space that really spoke to my heart the most deeply as a young professional. But as I started moving around for my work and for my loved ones, I started to feel the same problem over and over again, which is when I'm in a new city, it takes me many months, maybe even a year, especially if you're working a lot, to really find meaningful new friends. It just takes that long. And that means that you're not happy fully for a good year until you find your community.
You move and you're alone.
You're totally alone. And I think what's the worst part about it is a lot of times you don't even want to admit that you're lonely because it makes you feel like there's something wrong with you to say that, but it's just something we all go through, especially when we're new to an area.
And it makes you feel like, oh, maybe I shouldn't have moved, maybe this is a mistake, I don't feel good, but you want to stay here professionally.
Totally.
And then, so how do those two match? They don't. That's a big problem.
That's the big problem. And we're the most geographically mobile generation ever. We're moving for work, we're moving for loved ones, and that's not going to change. We're going to keep on moving if we're ambitious to chase these opportunities.
For sure.
But I do think we would be moving even more if we had security and confidence that we're going to find our community rapidly.
Oh, wow. So RealRoots, this is what you're doing, you're going to tell us, but you're saying, people would move even more if they have the confidence that whenever they end up, they can actually build a new community easily. That's what you empower. And I'm just thinking out loud. I'm like, you could go to see companies and be like, hey, we'll help you.
Yeah.
You know, sort of push your employees. You know, I don't know, you're Microsoft and you want everyone to move to Seattle.
Yeah.
But people don't want to move to Seattle. Yeah. And then you're like, well, it's powered by RealRoots. So basically you're helping female transplant make new friends in new cities. Is that how you would describe it?
Yes, totally. Yeah? So we're an AI app. Women download RealRoots and they talk to an AI matchmaker about who they are and where they are in their life right now. And then we use that information to design amazing social experiences where they have a lot of fun and they also meet compatible other women.
So the end goal is probably friendship and community?
Totally.
But that's done through events?
That's done through social experiences, events that we design.
And that's done through an app, an AI app that you talk to.
Yeah, because fundamentally, we're a matchmaking service. We match women who are similar based on their inputs through our AI voice conversation. And then we also match them with event creators in their city that design beautiful and fun experiences.
And how many cities is that?
We're in 80 in the US, and also during the YC batch, the YC partners encouraged us to test international as well. So we're also in London, in Toronto, and Vancouver as well.
Wow.
Yeah.
84, 83 cities.
Yes.
Wow, that's great. So wherever you're watching this in the US, there's probably a RealRoots events close to you. And that's amazing. Okay. And so that's probably one of the best use cases of AI for consumer that I've seen is just talking with, we could say a chatbot, that's kind of a old thing, but talking with an AI.
Yeah.
And the AI is going to be able to sort of discover anything that there is to know about you in order to match you with the right person. Is that
Absolutely.
how it works?
When you talk to Lisa, our AI matchmaker, it almost feels like a human conversation where she's going to go on tangents and ask thoughtful follow-up questions based on what you say. And that just makes the conversation a lot more self-directed by you and relevant to you. Because if you say, start talking about how passionate you are about art, she's going to ask you more about that instead of talking about, another hobby that another person might prefer.
So it's really almost imitating.
This, a human conversation. Yeah,
exactly. I'm almost thinking of a matchmaking service, run by humans.
Yeah.
But that was mostly for dating. That was, and you would talk to someone about who you are and what you're looking for, and they would match you with someone that they knew in their network. This is not for dating. This is for friendship.
Yeah.
But this is also not done by a human. But this is again a very good use of AI. Something that's been made possible only recently. It probably could not have been possible. Not probably, certainly. 2-3 years ago.
Totally. When I first started RealRoots almost 2 years ago, 18 months ago, when I was demoing whether this product would work or not, I was doing actual face-to-face interviews with people. I would book 15-minute video chats. And as a result of that chat, I was able to match them really well because as a human, you pick up on all of these cues. Like, how does a person express themselves? What vibe are they giving off? Like, what is their level of thoughtfulness? And a lot of these other traits that are really hard to suss out when you look at a survey.
Something that I keep seeing over and over at YC. So, that's something for everyone to consider, whether they're investing in YC, whether they want to make it. We have a lot of viewers who just want to go to YC and they're like, oh, here's someone who did it. So I see so many YC companies saying, hey, we're going to do something that's only been recently made possible with AI, but we're going to start doing it ourselves. Exactly what you just said. And then, because we're going to learn how to do it ourselves, we're going to learn how to teach AI how to do it instead of us. Did you have that vision from the beginning? Like, I'm doing it now, but very quickly AI is going to replace me there?
Yeah, 100%.
So cool.
And then even now, our methodology when we develop new features and new products is if we can do it by hand, via a human first, then I'm going to do it first. Because then I can see how users interact with me and my product with my own eyes, right? And that helps us design the software and the AI that's going to replace me. Definitely. It's super important to do it by yourself
first. It is super important, and very few people do
it.
So, please
it's hard.
remember to do that. Everyone's first sort of thought, I'm just going to make AI do it. Well, yes, but
you're not going to know how to make AI do it in the way that is the most useful for your users unless you deliver that service first.
Exactly. Okay, so before I forget, if you're watching this on YouTube, please consider subscribing to this channel. It helps us. We publish every week a new episode. We bring you an amazing YC founder every week. They're not as amazing as Dorothy. Dorothy is the best. But no, that's not true. They're all very amazing. So consider subscribing. You can also listen to us on the go, Spotify, Apple Podcast. Consider leaving us a 5-star review there as well. That really does help. Thank you. And check out my sister channel, my brother channel, my solo channel where I publish solo videos on YC and the VC ecosystem. You could just type in my name on YouTube, Gabriel Jarrison. Thank you so much. Back to the show. So, is it obvious for you to go to YC? Because YC has this reputation of, it's only B2B SaaS. I'm sure you've heard that.
Yeah.
What was the thought process of going there?
Yeah, I mean, when we got admitted, it became very clear that we were outliers in a number of different ways. We are not a typical YC company. But the beauty of YC
2 female founders.
Yes, 2 female founders, more experienced founders.
Yeah,
not
first-time founders,
Yeah, a lot of YC founders are very young, and that's a profile they look for. Oh, thank you. Not as young as I look.
But you're not 17 or 18 like some YC founders are.
Yes, totally. And then, of course, consumer. Yeah. So that made us very different. And before getting into YC, we hadn't fully fleshed out our AI integration. We haven't learned all the different ways AI would supercharge us. So that was also different as well. We found our second product market fit with AI inside of YC.
Still, was it obvious for you to go to YC?
Yes, that's a really good question. It wasn't. We thought about it a lot. But we ultimately decided to go because even though we're slightly further along than the average YC company, we're still very, very early in our journey, right? We're like pre-seed stage. We raised a small pre-seed prior to YC, and we're self-aware that the journey is long, and having the right thought partners to help us in this critical beginning stage would be really important. And I can say that YC transformed the trajectory of our company. I just did our feedback survey yesterday, so for YC, and I definitely checked the transformed our company box. I recommend YC for any company before Series A.
Wow.
It really is that good.
That's also a discussion I'm having a lot because
Yeah.
people in my network. There's people in the YC ecosystem. Me.
Yeah.
So, we all love YC, but there's people who know me who have not gone through YC, and so many times I get asked, "Oh, but should I really do YC? I think it's probably too late." And I keep telling people it's
not.
probably not too late.
Yeah.
Wherever you are, like maybe if you're $100 million company, maybe it's too late.
Yeah.
But other than that, it's probably not.
I think you just don't know what you don't know, right? You have clearly exhausted every idea between you and your co-founder and even the founding team potentially, if you're lucky enough to have a team already. But YC gives you a lot of one-on-one time with amazing partners that have seen so many different kinds of companies exactly in the same stage as you, regardless of which stage you're in. So the feedback that they're able to give is we found it to be spot on and transformative for the company.
Wow.
Yeah.
And by the way, like the point that often sort of stops people or blocks people is the 7% you give away to YC.
Yeah.
You probably, I don't want to say probably, but let's say in many cases, you more than make up for it on the other end at demo day.
Totally.
When if you have great results, you can very easily have a big seed round or a big raise at a much higher valuation that you probably would have otherwise.
Absolutely.
Which means that 7% overall don't necessarily matter. And so, let's talk about demo day. So, by the way, I didn't mention it, but you're fresh off the batch. Like, this is literally days or a week ago or something. Teased in the intro, you're one of the sort of the hottest company at demo day because you pitched.
Yeah.
And again, it was consumer, so maybe on paper some investors were like, and then you pitched and you said your numbers, and then you were like, there's literally a crowd around you. You were impossible to catch, because you're the star. Suddenly, you're more famous than Gary Tan at demo day. Suddenly, right? So,
that's very kind of you.
So tell me how that went. How did that feel? What did people say?
Totally.
Well,
we were pretty private about our revenue numbers. So people before demo day, they just didn't know on a mass scale. Like very select investors knew, and that was about it. So at demo day was a moment of shock where people realized that the company that on the surface looked like what a lot of other companies that have previously failed looked very similar to, right? Actually was succeeding in a way. Yeah. And then people were very curious as to how that was happening. And then, lot of good conversations came out of demo day.
I'm sure.
We were close to closing even before demo day, and demo day definitely oversubscribed us.
That's the thing. So everyone comes to you, but you're like, sorry guys, it's kind of too late. But some people that discovered you at demo day still came in. Right?
Oh, absolutely. That's good. Number of really
and
key
again, that's a point that I want to make that YC makes a lot is there's this thing like, by demo day it's too late, it's oversubscribed. I mean, sometimes it's true. And sometimes it isn't. Sometimes it isn't. So, you can still come at demo day and make amazing investments like RealRoots. Yeah.
In fact, actually, YC encourages founders to keep an allocation open for demo day because it's so useful.
Yeah. How do you decide, though? So for investors watching us, and there's many, you have probably, I want to say dozens, if not hundreds of people during that same day who come and say, please take my money. How do you decide whose money to take? So of course you have Bookface, the obvious. But what else did you take into consideration?
So Bookface. So basically the reputation of the investor by other startup founders like me. Also, we really have found valuable the angel investors who have already dabbled in consumer social. They often have learnings that are really relevant to us. So we've been able to see around a couple corners as a result.
It's also something I hear a lot.
Yeah.
There's a lot of YC companies that take a lot of money from angels, many in the YC community actually.
Yeah.
The YC alumni and stuff like that, and they're going to help you with their experience.
Yeah.
And so that's a good learning again for investors is if your money, it's something I repeat a lot is at this point for a company like this, money almost becomes irrelevant because you get so much offered to you. And so it's what is it that you bring on top? And experience in that specific topic, in consumer social, for example, is very relevant to you. If someone can just save you time, saying, I've been there, I've done that, that's worth it. That's how you chose to take some people. Okay. I was watching yesterday, I was on a live Twitch with someone else, looking at the new batch, the next batch after you, and there's only been a few companies added to the website yet, as of now, but many of them are in consumer.
Oh,
Many
interesting.
of them are using AI.
Wow,
for
why
consumer.
is changing?
So there's that's where I want to
Yeah.
get you. There's this TikTok for learning languages. There's this app that's gamified to help you quit drinking, to help you be sober. So all of those tools are using AI. I want to say sort of AI for good instead of AI for making you doom scroll on TikTok for 2 hours every day. It's interesting, your first reaction, but again, that's what I want to ask you. You say, oh, YC is changing. So do you think YC is changing? Do you think YC was not consumer and it's becoming consumer? How about in your batch? What do you think of this take on YC?
I think YC is very smart and they're chasing opportunities as they evolve. Obviously, along with any technological shift like we're experiencing right now with AI, opens up a lot of opportunities in consumer and in enterprise for application. So for the first time ever, there's a lot of opportunities. But I think it's also more nuanced than that. Consumer behavior is constantly changing, and especially in our generation, is changing at a faster rate than ever before. And I think RealRoots works because of AI, of course, but also because of emerging consumer behavior around willingness to pay for the opportunity to make new friends. Whereas previously, maybe people wouldn't be comfortable admitting that they need new friends. Yeah.
What made that change happen?
Well, the best comparison I have is we're with friendships where we were with online dating 15, 20 years ago, where people were just starting to find it acceptable to pay for an online date, but it was still considered a little bit more niche. I think 5 to 10 years from now, people will be freely paying for opportunities to make new friends. And most human relationships that are meaningful will come first from online and then brought into the in real life space.
Just like it is today for dating.
Yeah, exactly.
It's true. It's very interesting. Like I remember 10, 15 years ago when online dating started, it had a bad rap. People were like, oh, wow, really? You're dating online? Oh, you must be that desperate. And then today, I don't know, the statistics is like 1 wedding out of 3 or 2 is from Tinder or something. Like it's insane. Tinder babies as they're called, and there's so many, and I think there's no judgment at all anymore. Like, oh, you met on Tinder, yeah, okay, like him and like my neighbor and my brother and everyone.
Totally.
Yeah, and what needs to happen for this to be reflected in friendship? What was the process? Of course, you can take all the learnings from the dating thing. Why is it not there yet? By the way, why is it not already obvious, and what needs to happen?
Yeah, definitely. I think a lot of times consumer behavior is held back by stigma. And as the stigma goes away, people become rational and then they optimize for what is going to improve their own lives. So there was a stigma around admitting that you need new friends. And I think that's wrong because we all need new friends during different life changes. When we move to a new city, when our friends just start having babies, but we're not quite there yet, or after a breakup or a divorce, that we're all in circumstances in our life where we're looking to rebuild. And people who previously in the past generation was being held back by not wanting to admit, and they would suffer in loneliness. And now that stigma is going away. Yeah. And when you can talk about a problem, you can solve a problem. So that's where we are right now with friendship.
That's so cool. And I can help to make the stigma go away by saying that so it's only for women right now.
It's only for women.
But if it was existing for men, I would definitely sign up. I would love new friends. It's just, and there's no shame in admitting that. I'm doing my part to help RealRoots grow. Saying, new friends, it's nothing to be ashamed about. It's always good to have new friends. Friends are, friendship is complex, but it's also very powerful. So who doesn't want new friends?
I think that if you are convinced that the match quality is going to be extremely high, everybody has an appetite for new friends. It's all a function of how good the match quality is. Even if you're the most oversubscribed socially person ever, if I were to tell you your soulmate friend is waiting for you on RealRoots, that would be compelling even for you.
It's a good tagline.
Yeah.
Your soulmate friend is waiting for you on RealRoots.
Yeah.
You should use that.
Yeah.
Okay, so tell me about consumer in the batch. Were there a lot of other consumer companies in your batch?
And not too many. They did, inside of the batch, they tried to bundle similar types of companies into the same section. So in my section, there were a few.
Okay, so you were, they put you together so you can help. Did you find some stuff that was helpful from those batchmates?
You know, because our stage was a little different and our product category was a little different, not quite as much. Like what I mean is we have an AI layer in an app, of course, but also we're powering a marketplace, and marketplaces are a little more passé now. Whereas 10 years ago, marketplaces were the hot thing. So we're pretty different operationally from most of our batchmates, meaning I learned a lot more from partners who had seen a lot of companies like mine than maybe batchmates.
That's
itself.
super interesting.
Yeah.
Again, for people who would say, oh, I don't want to do YC because everyone's going to be B2B SaaS, and so I'm not going to learn anything from them. Even without the learnings from batchmates, and you said, I'm sure there has been some, but let's say there hasn't been a lot. Even then, it was valuable for you.
Super valuable. Yeah, super valuable. The partners are incredible. The advice you get is unparalleled. I mean, you might think you have people in your network that can give amazing advice, and I'm sure a lot of people do, but how many people can say that their friend is willing to work with them, hours every week to improve their idea over 3 months? Like, it's just very hard to qualify for that, like that level of service, and YC gives it to you.
For sure, and also like the YC partners, all of them are super impressive people, super accomplished. Like,
totally.
I think the sort of the least accomplished of the partners still have built businesses in the hundreds of millions, and almost all of them have built unicorns. And like, it's not a small feat to build a unicorn. It takes a lot of work and a lot of time, and many people try, and very few actually make it.
Yeah.
So the quality, if you look really at who the partners are and what they've done, you're like, you would not necessarily get advice from so many of those people.
Totally.
In real life. So let's, you're obviously very successful so far, and I'm sure it's going to keep going. Can you give us some ideas of what it takes for consumer product, maybe with AI, or maybe just for consumer products, YC or not, obviously in the context of YC, because this is just what you're just exiting the program. What does it take to get there? What does it take to succeed? I'm sure many people would love to say, hey, we're nearing, closing down on 10 million ARR. It's a good place to be. What's the, I don't want to say what's the secret, but give us some things that people can reuse if they want to follow on your path.
Yeah, definitely. When I was first starting RealRoots, I was met with probably like a complete wall of skepticism, because so many companies sounded like RealRoots in the beginning and just didn't go on to make a meaningful venture scalable impact. I think the advice I would give is build for yourself. Like I didn't give up because I knew that I would pay for this, and I knew there had to be lots of people just like me. And without that internal conviction, it would have been really hard to keep going.
For yourself.
Yeah, build for yourself. You know yourself. And ultimately, the only people that matter are your users. And if they're like you understand them intimately. Venture capitalists often might be a different profile than your users. So they might not intuitively understand the user's need until you show validation through traction. So it can be a bit of a lagging indicator.
And so that happened to you, right?
Yes, definitely.
That's it's horrible.
Yeah,
because it works. You're
totally.
your own user. It's good.
Yep.
And then the venture capitalist is maybe not a woman, first of all, because it's not for women. Maybe hasn't moved. Maybe has many friends.
Exactly.
Whatever it is, or maybe is 50 years old and it's a different generation, different problem.
Yeah.
And then they don't care at all. Did that happen to you? They're like, what is this toy? It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I remember one of the first VCs I pitched on campus at Stanford Business School. He said, his feedback to me was like, oh, that's a really cute idea. And he didn't mean it as a compliment. And that was generally the vibe I was getting.
That sucks.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Well, I apologize on behalf of men. Yeah, that sucks. How do you... I guess it's in a way you don't have any other choice than to actually make it work and prove them wrong.
But I think that's where we have the opportunity too. If you are getting 100% yeses and validation from the get-go, that means your idea seems too obvious, and probably lots of other people are working on it. It's actually, I think, a good thing, a feature, not a bug, if you go out to pitch before traction and most people don't think it's a good idea. Then you prove them wrong with traction, and then they listen.
It reminds me of two things. One, it reminds me of, I think it's Michael Seibel, who says your idea needs to be good and not obvious.
Yeah.
That's exactly what you said. Because if it's bad, it's just bad. But if it's good and obvious, There's too many people, it's super crowded. So this is the one thing. The other thing it reminds me of is Airbnb.
Yeah.
Everyone was saying no to them, was saying it's stupid. Was saying, I'm not going to go sleep at a stranger's house. Are you crazy? I don't know this person and I actually sleep in their house? Everyone said no. And then proved them wrong. Boom, exploded because people want a cheap way to travel and hotels are overbooked anyway on conferences and stuff. And it is one of YC's biggest success today. It's interesting to see YC's biggest successes. Everyone says YC is B2B SaaS, but the biggest names out there are consumer. Did you realize that?
Yeah.
Airbnb, Coinbase, Reddit, DoorDash, they're all consumer.
That's a really good point.
Well, Dropbox is not. It's mixed, but it's mostly B2B, let's say. But all the four. And so, and again, they're probably not the most obvious ideas at the beginning. Like Reddit started, people were like, "What is this ugly website? It doesn't make any sense." DoorDash, I don't know. Maybe it seems obvious that people want food delivered, but I'm sure at the beginning it had some skepticism. So, are you on pace to become one of YC's biggest success?
Oh, I think so. I definitely think so. As I've talked to investors, I've heard the Airbnb analogy quite a few times. And I think what's similar between RealRoots and Airbnb is it's writing the disintegration of a certain stigma, right? It's like basically it's bringing on a wave of behavior change in consumers, whereas people, I think, fundamentally are rational. And once you remove stigma, they make choices that are in their best interest, which is like renting out that spare room and having a stranger stay with you. It's also making friends online because you're going to find friends that are more compatible, that have more similarities because you have a much bigger base, which is the internet.
It's crazy.
Yep.
I mean, so you're the next Airbnb, first of all. That's so cool. But okay, I love this. How, there's tons of stigma still.
Yeah.
And so I want to ask you, how are you fighting stigma today? And I want to ask you, for people out there who are building in another niche, another market where there also is stigma. For example, there's a lot of companies building in the psychedelics space. There's lots of things happening. Some of them are very interesting in a scientific capacity. I know psilocybin is studied to fight depression, and actually the results are very, very good. But then there's stigma. Oh, that's drugs. That's just an example off the top of my head. But anyway, there's lots of stigmas out there. How do you go and fight a stigma? How are you doing it with, the stigma of online friendships?
I think you find a wedge that is particularly open to your product. For us, it started out with just being young women, and there's a lot of history of young women being the early adopters of mental health solutions. Like therapy is a really good example, where previously, like maybe two generations ago, therapy was only for people who were maybe quite unwell. But now... And
there was a stigma.
Yeah.
Oh, if you're doing a therapy, you must be nuts, right?
And then young women were the first ones to say, you know what, this helps me.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to start using it as a lifestyle support tool. Yeah. And then now, of course, the stigma has gone away and everyone is using therapy. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. So you find a wedge that is open-minded to not considering that stigma, and then you do such a good job with them that they then spread the word. And once, that's why we started with women, but once men see RealRoots working for their female partners, their female friends, their female colleagues, I think openness starts from that.
Oh wow, yeah, you find your early adopters, basically. Wow, okay. Yeah, and then I guess it really does help if you find, quote unquote, the hair on fire problem, like your early adopters. If you find the community that really needs this because they're just suffering. So you find all those women who just recently moved and they really are lonely.
Yeah.
They're like, you know what, stigma or no stigma, let's dive in because I really have that problem. I really have that pain. That's really cool. Okay. I want to go back to investors because lots of investors here. You're done, you've raised, tons of money that was offered to you, and that's great. So I'm not trying to get you to pitch, but I want to get investors to think about how not to miss the next RealRoots. You said you've been overlooked, but in many meetings, and of course, in YC becomes obvious. You have the revenue, but what would you say for an investor, even an investor like me, to say, okay, here's mistakes that investors did with us early on, and if they hadn't done that mistake, they would not have overlooked us and they would have gotten in the ground floor in an amazing company. Do you know what I'm asking?
I do. I think investors as humans tend to over-index on scar tissue. If they've invested or they've studied a failure in your space, they might believe maybe on an emotional level that it can't be done. And that makes them, a little bit more blind to new opportunities because of emerging trends in consumer behavior or technology. At least that's what I've noticed. Some of the investors that passed, they almost weren't able to verbalize why they were passing. It was more around, look, I've tried this before and I just have some scar tissue.
Many people tried the friendship app?
Yeah,
oh, wow.
Like just some sort of friendship service.
Okay.
Yeah, like there's been so many that have not worked. Bumble BFF is an example. Facebook groups, even
Bumble
Meetup.com.
BFF, is it your biggest competitor today?
It's probably the most well known. Yeah.
But it's not working great. I don't know. I've never used it.
Well, it's hard to know for sure because it's not disclosed. But anecdotally, I don't think that it's monetizing very well.
Well, and I'm guessing you know from some of your users.
Yes, definitely.
Okay. Well, let's not get the Bumble CEO all riled up about this. So let's keep it like this. But it's super interesting because there's this thing at YC. It's also I think from Michael and Dalton video called the tar pits, which are the ideas that everyone tried multiple times over. And it's the ideas that always come back, and you got to ask yourself, why has this never worked?
Yeah.
So the example is like, what if we could order a beer in a bar from our phone? Or what if we could have an app that shows you the parties around you on campus or whatever, and you can just register? Like, it's the ideas that sort of everyone has when they're 18 and they want to build their first business, and we've all seen hundreds of versions of them, and it actually never worked. None of them actually succeeded, and so. If you see this, you should probably say to yourself, that's a tar pit, I'm not going to invest. We know it doesn't work. But, and that's why being an investor is so difficult. What you're saying, and what I believe you're absolutely right, and for investors out there, is there's two things that can make this whole thing not true, or change all of this, is changing behaviors in consumer. What you just said is so important. And that's by the way, the other part I had is changes in technology. But changing behaviors in consumer, I maybe didn't have it in my mental model, but it's true. If society is changing, then something that was horrible and impossible just 2-3 years ago could become a thing.
100%.
And then the second thing is technology changes. And so, of course, now we have AI that's making everything different.
Yeah.
And I think YC said that so many companies that they would never consider before. Maybe friendships was one of them, maybe. Now with AI, they're able to reconsider everything because it just changes the game entirely. So that's so powerful.
Yeah.
It means being an investor is you're always on moving grounds.
It's so true.
That's why it's a difficult job. That's why that's why you have to be in it full time. Okay. No, that's absolutely really really awesome. I want to talk about your founder story because. If I'm not mistaken, you met her through RealRoots.
Definitely.
That's so cool. So tell us the story, please.
Yeah. So I had actually been co-founder dating for many, many months, and I had met 100 different co-founder candidates. Wow. And I just I had a very high bar for what I wanted from a co-founder fit because at Cambly, the company I was at last, the two co-founders just got along so well that I wanted to emulate that kind of relationship. And I just wasn't able to get to internal conviction on the candidates I was meeting. And then I met my co-founder, the woman who later became my co-founder, Tara, inside of RealRoots itself. So she was an early user. I was also beta testing the product as I was co-founder dating, looking for a partner in crime. And I was looking at all the profiles of users that would come in SF because I was trying to look for a co-founder, and I would intentionally get in front of each one and casually mention that I was looking for a co-founder. Wow. And with Tara, it worked. She bit immediately. She was like, oh my gosh, that's amazing. I love RealRoots. Like, this is something I'm really passionate about, and I think I have the right skills. And then we started talking, and I knew from the second conversation that she was probably it. Wow. Of course, we still did like a full-fledged trial project, but I was just shocked by how fast your gut knows when someone's the right fit versus when you kind of just drag your feet a little bit. I think finding a co-founder is very similar to finding a life partner, where it needs to make sense mentally, of course. You need to be aligned, you need to want the same thing, and you need to have like the right skill sets to complement each other. But also, on a gut level, you have to really just feel it with this person. And you know very, very quickly on a gut level.
I've read that your gut knows in the first 10 seconds.
Yeah.
If the person isn't that crazy? Did you feel that in a way?
You know, like maybe it wasn't 10 seconds, but it was very, very early on. And it has something to do with, I've been thinking about this quite a lot afterwards, like why my gut was so sure. It has something to do with like value alignment that I can't even intellectualize.
Yeah.
If I was like going to make a list of all the values that needed to be similar, I wouldn't have been able to find a comprehensive list, right? But my gut knew almost right away that Tara was the right person. And we really are eye to eye. We're very aligned.
You can't even like you can rationalize the process. It's not. I've read. It's probably I guess for dating and for life partner more than for co-founders, but who knows? That there's also a chemical thing. Like if you're aligned chemically, and so each of your bodies actually knows before your brain knows. I don't know if it works for co-founders, but maybe it's just the person you're compatible with. I just want to go back again for founders who are looking at this. It's a problem that I hear so much. Oh, I want to do YC. I don't have a co-founder. Before RealRoots, because that's what actually worked. And so, by the way, people can, I guess, sign up on RealRoots as well if they want to do that. Just pushing your product very discreetly.
Love it.
But before that, how are you founder dating?
Yeah, so I found candidates through the YC's platform, of course, my own personal network, and then the user base of RealRoots. I was a non-technical founder, so it was hard for me to build all the aspects of RealRoots that make it scalable today. Yeah. But on a small level, a lot of products you can mimic the end product by hand. Yeah. And I was able to do that. I was doing all the matching. I was the AI interface where I was talking to users in a video format, and then I was delivering the experiences by hand. I was our first, event creator. So by doing that by hand, I was able to deliver a product to the market and thereby meet early users. I think that is a hack. If you have an idea, even if you're non-technical, just build your idea. And the people who are gravitating towards your mission are good candidates for co-founders.
It's so interesting. If you're not technical, people don't realize you can almost every single business, every idea, every app, you can sort of do it manually. You can say, let's take Airbnb. You can say, hey, send me pictures of your home. I put them on my computer, and then if you want to rent someplace, tell me where you want to go on the date. And like you can literally do it via email, via phone call. Hey, Dorothy would like to stay at your place. Like it's obviously horrible, but it's the beginning. You just start. So you can just say, hey, you want to make friends, tell me more about yourself. You want to make friends, okay, then you should meet, and that's it. It's sort of the manual way. Was it also immediately clear for you that you needed a co-founder, that it couldn't stay this way forever?
Definitely. Well, one, I'm non-technical, so I knew I needed someone to round that out. But also the founder journey is just very hard. That initial period where I was alone, beta testing and co-founder dating was probably the hardest part of RealRoots, of the journey. And it's so, it was so ironic. I would say I'm trying to solve loneliness in the world, but I'm the loneliest I've ever been.
You're doing it as a solo founder.
Yep, totally.
That's kind of a problem.
Yeah, so super grateful when I met Tara, and could not be building RealRoots without her.
Yeah, no, I know, and you guys make a great team, and again, we can see the I don't know if it's the chemistry is the right word, but we can see that you guys go along really well, that you're just, I don't know, you're good together, the way you're working as a team. Again, I haven't seen a lot of you guys, but what I did see, I was like, okay, this is a real team. Tell me about the impact that it had. What did it unlock? Obviously, the tech part, but that's not all of what she brings to the table. The team aspect. How does it? I don't know. Does the company move faster once she gets on board?
So much faster. When you're working alone, I believe humans are not meant to work alone. Yeah. Like we just aren't. in our optimal motivation state when we're alone. We're meant to be like talking to people, like sharing a vision, sharing a dream, and working for one another as much as for ourselves and for our users. So I'm someone that definitely is motivated when I'm working for someone else, with someone else. So all of a sudden, working really long days felt effortless. Whereas before, when I was alone, it was hard to keep the motivation going.
You know, there's this big thing now in SF, it's the 996.
Yeah.
Did you hear that?
Of course.
So working from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., 6 days a week, 996. And it's actually apparently what YC companies do. I think it's Rippling that checked internally in their stats, and they see as much activities on Saturday than on the rest of the week. So actually, it's a real thing, the 996. And you know, of course, this might seem like a lot to a lot of people, including me. I don't work 996, I have to admit. I work, I believe, a lot, but not 996. But when, you know, this thing, find a job that you like so much that it doesn't feel like working.
Yeah.
So a co-founder can help you do that. It was the same work for you, the same job.
Yeah.
But it went from sort of dragging your feet to effortless.
Yeah.
So cool.
Yeah.
That's like, I hope Tara watches this, because that's saying a lot, like that's a lot on her. It's like, wow, the impact she had. It's crazy.
Absolutely. We definitely worked on the weekends during the YC batch, but on an ongoing basis, we actually don't work on Saturdays. I just wanted to put that out there. That's also a possible route for people.
Yeah, it is. And you're doing great. Yeah, by the way. You know, I have mixed feelings on this. I think it's, you know, probably if you want to make it at some point, you got to work really hard.
Yeah, of course.
At some point, but it doesn't have to be always. And you can work really hard Monday to Friday, but if your personal life or whatever, the company decision is to take the weekends off, it's also, the rest part is good as well, because you come back refreshed, you don't burn out. You know, athletes, they rest in between the trainings. You can just train all the time because your body gives up. Anyway. And so the you know, it's important to, so I'll give you an example. I don't work at all on weekends either. Try to stay away from emails and stuff like that. And this gives me time to read. And then it's this question that was asked to Mark Zuckerberg, like, how long do you work? And he says, well, it depends what you count work. Like on the weekends, I'm not answering emails, but when I'm reading a book that's a non-fiction book about, like I'm reading a book right now on delegation, and it gave me a bunch of ideas on how to delegate more in my work to be able to, you know, so that's work. And I do it on, you know, Saturday night in bed and just reading it. So that it's not work, but it actually is. Or just when I'm, you know, sometimes walking around the city or whatever, and I'm thinking about something, I'm not answering emails, but I'm still working. So, but 996, so it's not your type of company. Are you hiring? Is that what you do you want to use the platform?
Oh yeah, I would love to. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
We are hiring. We just raised a great seed round. So we're hiring early engineers and also a business ops manager as well.
Okay, who don't work on the weekends.
Who don't work on the weekends, yes.
Okay. And it's here in San Francisco, I'm guessing.
Here in San Francisco, 100% in person here in ESSA.
Yep. That's beauty. Okay. And so, yeah, just to double down on this, the 996, what do you think? You're obviously not doing this right now. Do you think generally for earlier companies it's a good idea, or it's not? Just your thoughts on this new trend.
I think that when you have a certain runway and you're working towards product market fit, you just want to get as many iterations as possible before you run out of money and time. So it makes total sense, like during periods where you really need to be working super hard. Like for us as YC, it was also during fundraising, we were working all the time. And that makes a lot of sense for that stage of company. But I also think the thing you're trying to optimize for is your ability to work for 10 or more years.
Yep.
And so it's a marathon that you're optimizing for, not just a sprint. So then that changes your perspective when you think about creating a lifestyle that's actually sustainable for you for that many years.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's interesting. And again, probably many of those founders are not thinking they're going to do this for 10 years. So that's fine. This is the first year or the first 2 years, we're just going to go crazy, see if it works. If it does, we can go into a more regular, natural rhythm. Like that. There's also been the question of, it's very easy for 19-year-olds to be doing this, but of course you have other founders at YC. Like it's not only 19-year-olds, and you have people who have families, who have kids, and you're like, I need to see my kids sometimes. I can't be doing 24/7, 7 days a week, and so that's also something to consider, I guess. You're not going
Yeah.
to be, like if your company takes you away from your kids all the time, you're not going to be very happy with that.
Definitely. Yeah, I thought that was really interesting about YC is there is such a over indexing on younger talent, younger founders, whereas actually stats show us that the average age for a founder is in their mid 30s. So
Yeah.
that you don't see that picture when you look at YC founders.
It's very interesting. Someone told me recently, and it's an interesting way to think about it, that YC wants young founders because they want to sort of mold them
Yeah.
in the YC mindset,
Yeah.
which is not a bad mindset, by the way. It's a pretty amazing mindset, but when they're younger, they're easier to mold. But I've also found that it's also sort of a stereotype because there's lots of 30-plus-year-olds at YC as well, right? Did you? I'm sure you saw some in your
I
batch,
definitely
right?
saw some. I would say it's like 20% or less though. We were definitely,
Wow.
so I started a WhatsApp group in YC. We called it YC Geriatrics.
Wow.
And it was
no
for
way.
people over 30.
Really?
Yeah, and it was a small group.
Really?
Yep.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah, we're definitely outliers.
Do you think that's a problem for YC?
Well, no, I don't think it's a problem. I think YC is very intentional and they run themselves like a startup. So they, I'm sure, have experimented and
Yeah.
iterated, and they probably found that their programming works the best with younger founders. I'm guessing that's why they make that deliberate choice. But I do think, from a personal standpoint, I wouldn't be the founder I am today without my experience. I
Yeah.
definitely was not the founder I am today
sure.
when I was 19. And there are certain types of plays that you just need a lot of experience for. RealRoots, in some ways, when you think about the marketplace side of it, it's a complex, almost like operationally efficiency play. And it would be harder to get that down as rapidly without experience.
It's a difficult
Yeah,
thing that you're trying to do. There's lots of moving pieces.
Totally.
So yeah, if you're getting started with this and you haven't done anything before, it's like tough to get right.
I know I couldn't have done it.
Yeah.
So
Do you think also there's sort of people refrain from actually applying to YC because of the reputation that it's only for young people, because of the reputation of the 996. There's probably a lot of 30-plus-year-old out there, founders, maybe watching this, who say, well, I can go to YC. First of all, if you're not in SF, again, people have families, wives, husbands, kids, partners, and they say, I can move my family to SF for 3 months. Like, that's not easy.
that's a good point.
I know a founder that I've invested in, he's based in London, wife and kids. And it's like, I did YC when it was remote, but otherwise I can't move everyone to SF for 3 months.
Yeah, that makes so much sense.
And so you think people are just stopping themselves from applying?
Yeah, absolutely. If I were in that category, I wouldn't be able to apply
Yeah.
either. So that makes a lot of sense.
So
And that's
YC is missing
YC's
out.
loss. Yeah.
YC is missing out.
Yeah,
There's got to be a better way. There's got to be well, first of all, I mean, YC maybe would answer, if you're really passionate, if you're really intent on building your startup, maybe you should try to find a way to move your family to SF, but it's not that easy. Especially if you don't have the YC stamp yet to get a visa. If you're living in Europe, you want to come to the US. If you're in YC, you can do the O1 visa, but if you're not in YC, much harder. Well, anyway.
Yeah.
But it's very interesting. I think YC is missing out on this. Before we wrap up, and thank you so much for your time. I'm having a blast. There's so many gems that you're sharing with me and with the audience. I'm sure they're gonna love it. Give us a like on the YouTube thing, like this button. Like, give some love to Dorothy, please. I'm sure you have some thoughts on for earlier founders. Obviously now you're in a great place. It really is exploding, and we're very excited for you about that. But to sort of test the market, validate your hypothesis, just try it. And get to, I don't know if we want to say product market fit, but let's say just get to initial validation, hopefully as quickly as possible. How did you do that? How would you advise founders to do that?
You can start very early. There are a number of leading indicators even before you're able to monetize anything. And for me, the leading indicators were, were basically just verbal signs of interest. I went through Facebook and I joined a bunch of female-only groups, and then I DM'd probably 2,000 to 3,000 random women in San Francisco and asked them, if I built this, would you pay me?
Wait, Facebook doesn't block you?
You know what? They actually started to rate limit me at the end. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's only because I had an account for so long that I think I didn't totally get blocked. But at the end of that process, I think I was only allowed to send like 20 messages a day or something like that.
So
yes, they
do.
did.
Yeah. You have to be careful about that. And so you explain exactly the vision.
Yeah, and I'm like, would you? I'm designing this product for you because I'm like you. Would you want to join? And then I got 11% to verbally say they wanted it. And then I moved on to the next step, which is deliver the first experience that people can enjoy.
Okay, wait. Step back.
Yeah.
That's really cool. So you said 3,000 messages.
Yeah.
11%. That's not the answer rate. That's the people who said yes.
Yeah.
So you had people, I'm sure, ghosting you.
Of course.
That's like 50% or more, right?
Yes, that's the majority. Yes.
They just don't answer.
Yeah.
And but by the way, sometimes they don't even see the message because
Yeah.
if you're not friends, even on Facebook, I think it goes into other category or whatever. So maybe they don't even see it, or they don't check Facebook anymore. You know, it's also possible. Why Facebook, by the way? Because it's just easier. Like, why not Instagram or something?
Facebook was just the easiest thing to get started. I had the most credibility on Facebook, the most friends, and that sort of thing.
Okay.
But I wanted to say it wasn't. I actually asked people to pay a tiny amount as well.
Oh, you
so,
did?
Yeah. So it was
I wanted to get to that.
It was
in a
a
second.
strong level of interest.
I want to get to that because people sometimes say yes, and then you're like, okay, pay.
Yes.
And they're like, no, sorry. So it's very important, and I see this mistake a lot in founders. They tell me, oh, everyone says they want it, and I'm like, okay, what's your revenue? Oh, they haven't paid.
Yeah.
Maybe they don't even start monetizing themselves, so people can't pay because you're not asking them to. But if they don't pay for the service, there's no value. So you did this really well. So that's an advice. If you want to validate your idea, make people actually pay for it. If they're paying, they see the value, right?
Yeah, totally. And I think it was also really important to be reaching out to a random distribution of people who didn't already know me. So they're not buying out of like loyalty to me, or
I'm your friend. Sure, I'll give you $10 to help you.
Or even belief in me. Like you could probably do something great. Like it's not that. It's just random people seeing the value prop just like they would in an ad or on a website.
So friends don't count. Family doesn't count.
They don't count.
Yeah, you're right. So okay, and so many ghost you. Some answer you and you start a conversation, and some say like, oh no, that's okay, thank you, stranger, I'm good.
Yes.
And some be like, wow, that's awesome, I would love that.
11%
and that's 11% who paid.
Paid $20.
So some of them said, I love it, and then you say, pay $20, they don't pay. But 11% pay, so that's really high.
So it was really high. It gave me a lot of internal conviction that there's something here that needs to be built. And then I created the first experience. That's one step further in the funnel. Like you get people in real life.
Wait, sorry. Yeah. Sorry to interrupt you. But, people who want to do this, you just need a Facebook account. Yeah. Then did you set up a Stripe to get payments or just Venmo me $20?
Yeah, I think that was in the early days. I was non-technical, so I used Wix. I created a Wix landing page. Yeah. And then I also
you could have payments on Wix.
Yes. Totally.
So cool.
Yeah. And then so that's like the initial step. Like I got people to pay a tiny amount, and then I delivered a service, the next step in the funnel, and then I tried to charge them a bigger amount.
Then how did you deliver the service? Out of those, so 3,000, 11%, there's maybe 200-300 people who paid, and you're trying to match them, those people together. So you talk to each of them, talk about going manual, to something that today is fully automated, run by AI.
Yep.
So inspiring. Can you hear this, founders? Like, it's crazy. I love it. Okay, sorry, keep going.
Sure. And in the beginning, I actually struggled to get people to commit to the larger amount because, of course, your funnel is the worst it'll ever be in the very beginning. So you have to give yourself a lot of grace for improving and finding many multiples of lift as you fine-tune your funnel. But the leading indicator that it was working is people proactively after an event. I would get dozens of people after every event come up to me and thank me and say it was one of the best events they've been to. And that was the next step of validation where it's like, okay, so it actually is resonating really well even when they see the product itself. And now I just have to figure out how to do the next thing, which is get them to pay a larger amount for the full product.
What did you try to charge after the $20?
A lot of price testing. So your product's the worst it'll ever be in the beginning. So I charged the lowest amount in the beginning. I think I charged $120 in the very beginning, and now it's a little bit more than double.
Now it's more than that, but it's a very different product, obviously. But people would not go from 20 to 120.
Yes, exactly.
Do you know why? I mean, I guess you did figure it out.
Just a leaky funnel. I wasn't very clear upfront that they were going to have that kind of option at the end. They actually need to know about the full track as they're purchasing that $20 ticket in the very beginning. Otherwise, they feel blindsided, right? It's not well communicated. So I just learned how to better communicate. Yeah.
Well, I mean, at that stage, that's it. You're after the races. It's working. People love it.
Yeah.
And they already come to an event. So So many lessons here.
Yeah.
Start manually, just randomly message people. And you can do this in B2B as well. You can, message a bunch of companies and be like, hey, I'm doing this. It's $20. It doesn't have to be.
Yeah.
And by the way, one of the questions I get asked the most is how do we make it into YC? And this is also a way to get into YC. That's what happened to you. It's like, hey, it's not finished. It's not working perfectly. There's still thousands of things to figure out, but we have interest from people who are paying, and this is not the right amount. They're not going to end up paying $20, but they're paying. So it means they're interested. YC says make something people want.
Yeah.
So if you already have something that people are paying for, there's a good chances, if you're in San Francisco, if you have a technical co-founder, blah, 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 that YC would actually take you into the program because they say, hey, users are actually wanting this. And you can do this in B2B. You can just reach out to people, start selling them at a ridiculous price, but the fact that they're paying is proof, and then you improve from there on. Crazy. Okay. Last thing I want to ask you before we wrap is customer acquisition. I'm sure you. Well, I'm anticipating. Well, I'm not gonna anticipate anything. I'm gonna let you answer.
Sure.
And I also know because I've asked you as an investor before, but the next thing people might be asking now, we gave them the blueprint. You message a bunch of people, you validate the idea, they pay, it works. The next thing is, okay, now how do I get 100,000 people to use it? How did you go about that? Or what advice would you give?
Yeah. So in the beginning, I had no money, right? So that's why I was doing the brute force tactic of me DMing individual users and trying to get them to convert. But
would you advise that because
I would.
Most people are broke as well. They're like, I can't put $1 million on social media.
You can't in the beginning.
Just brute force.
But then you brute force in the beginning. You exchange your labor for money because labor is the thing you have in the beginning. But after you start monetizing, you get users to start paying you. Then you can then take the money that users give you to sell the next user. So then we started throwing a small budget around paid advertising on Instagram and on Facebook.
And it worked.
And then it grew from there.
So something I thought you were going to say you didn't was if your product is good, is so good, you also have a lot of word of mouth, which is the case for you, right?
Yeah, that's true as well.
Yeah. So make something really good. And, word of mouth. Okay. Yeah. Awesome. I guess that's a good place to leave it. Thank you so much for being here. I had a blast.
I had a blast too.
That's awesome. Thank you very much. To our listeners, if you're still here, and you should, because look at the value of the content, please consider subscribing to this channel. It really does help. We're dropping a new episode every Tuesdays with amazing YC founders. You can listen to us on the go on your favorite podcast platform. Also, please leave us a 5-star review there. It really does help. I'll see you next week. Thank you so much.